Hi, I'm Joy from That Cat Lady, and this is
Leah. Hello.
Hi Leah. And today we're talking about foster caring. So, for those of you who followed this Meet the Rescue Leaders series, we've spoken to several rescue organisations: Sydney Street Cats, Maggie's Rescue, Liberty Foundation. And they all do wonderful work bringing animals in from the streets, from research laboratories. The one thing they have in common is that once animals come into their care, they send the animals out to their wonderful network of volunteer foster carers. So foster caring is a really integral part of the rescue network. And I was delighted to meet Laura last year, and we had a wonderful conversation, and her joy of foster caring was palpable. And so I wanted to share that with everyone today and learn a little bit more about foster caring. So welcome today, Laura. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, thank you. This is Azzy. Azzy's going to hello.
Hi, Azzy.
He's my eldest boy. He's mine.
He is adorable.
He's telling me he'd like to go now. So respectfully, he will
Bye,
be.
Azzy. He's adorable. So, Laura, you foster for WLPA, which is the World League for Protection of Animals.
Yes.
And they're based in Gladesville in Sydney.
Yes.
And it's a no-kill rescue for dogs, cats, and all sorts of little animals.
Yeah. So, it's a great organisation.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw to you, Leah, because I know that you would love to be a foster carer yourself. So if you want to lead out with questions for Laura today.
Thanks, Joy. Yes, I do. I have a lot of questions because I'm interested in foster caring, but I have 2 cats already at home. So I have a few questions about how it all works. And so we'll kick off with, it sounds super fun and rewarding to be a foster carer. So is that true? Is it, what's it like day to day? How fun is it? What do you get out of it as a foster carer?
So it is so much fun. It can be a lot of work, but I think it's just so worth it. So you don't really notice the extra washing and cleaning and all of that, because, when you're helping beautiful cats that are homeless to find their forever home, it pays off in droves. So what my husband and I find really fun about it is bringing them out of their shell and getting them to play and getting them to not feel scared. You do often get cats who are quite shy, that you have to work a bit longer with to bring them out of their shell. We mostly foster pregnant cats and then see them through the labour and the raising of their kittens. Wow. And we find them more homes. So that is a bit more work because, you've got 6 instead of 1 or 2 at a time. But mummy cat does most of the work. So it can actually be easier in the beginning. And then when they get to about 6 weeks, that's when, you need a bit more time to clean the litter trays and do the feeding. But they are so playful. So it's actually a privilege that you get to be with them at that stage of their development. And you just get to have the most fun ever. And you get to see them all play with their little brothers and sisters. And it's hours of entertainment. My mother-in-law will look at them and say, "You're a complete time sink. I have things to do, but I can't go." It's like watching the best film ever, but it's like really relaxing and it just goes all day.
It does sound like a lot of fun. Can you describe a typical day, say if you have 1 or 2 foster cats in your house?
So when a foster cat comes in, if you have your own cats, you have to keep them separate. Cats don't just come together and play well. My cats are actually I have 3. My cats are really friendly, but it still doesn't matter because cats that come in could have different viruses and things. So you need a quarantine period. The cats that come in need to get vaccinated and stuff. So we make sure that we're keeping them all safe and healthy. So usually I have a room that's set up just for our foster cats. So in the morning, I go and feed my cats and change their litter. And then I'll go and do the same for the foster cats. In addition to that, we keep an eye on, we do like health checks, you know, just keep an eye on their bodily functions, on their general demeanor, making sure that they're bright and alert and responsive, and seeing how much they've eaten. So you start sort of taking note of patterns, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to collect data to see how healthy they are. Vet visits are quite expensive, and resources are very stretched when it comes to like charities and organizations as such. So as a foster carer, like, it's not hard, but you're just generally taking notes so that when you talk to your contact person at the organization, you can say, oh, you know, the stool has been a bit running for a few days. Okay, let's get the wormer in, or, you know, things like that, and they guide you. And then for us, if we're working from home that day, I'll go in and check on them every couple of hours. It depends if they're older cats or kittens, because kittens need more care. If the kittens are with the mum, it's not so bad. If the kittens are without the mum, it's a bit different. So every stage of their development's a bit different. But throughout the day, you know, we'll go visit them. If they're kittens, we'll feed them again, play with them. And then just at night, we do the bigger feed and toilet and clean out of everything, and, you know, the health check sort of stuff. And we find that we tend to play with them more later at night, where we'll have, you know, anything from 20 minutes to 2 hours of just, you know, playing and playing. Depends on the cat. If they're kittens, they'll go for hours and hours. So yeah, but it can be as simple as feeding and toileting morning and night, depending on what stage of development they're in and what the situation is. Yeah.
And so if you have cats at home already, the foster cats should be in a separate room. If you don't have cats already, can you have your foster cats in your living room with you, or in roaming the house, or is that also still best to keep them separate?
So every situation's a bit different. So we'll talk about kittens first. So kittens, well, cats generally, they like to have a small space to feel safe. Now, if you're bringing them into a new home, often what cats do when you adopt your cat or you buy your cat, you bring them home, they go sit behind the fridge for 3 days because they want that comfort. So our house is hilarious. We have cardboard boxes all over our house, and people always think we're moving because it's just cardboard. I'm like, no, that's for the cat. Don't move that box. That's Marley's box, and that's Spike's box, and that's the box that Azzy likes to sit on at 2 p.m. So just let you know, and that's our cats. They live here. But so with say kittens, right? So if you're bringing in kittens, we usually get like a hamper. They're like a cat tent sort of thing, and you put them in there, and you can get quite big ones. So you put their litter, their food, their toys, their blanket, and they are in there. You just take them out for cuddles, because if you leave them in an open room, especially if they don't have a mum, you will be swimming on the floor trying to find them under furniture. Kittens also find themselves in so many situations that can be harmful, that you just don't want that. You know, if they do something and then something falls on them, or, you know, if they find their head in the toilet or something, it's kind of like raising a toddler. There's a million ways they can hurt themselves, and you just have to minimize it. We can't put toddlers necessarily in a tent or a cage, but cats we can, and they enjoy that. And then you just take them out for cuddles and playtime. If we're bringing in a mummy cat, so we'll put them in a room. We have a spare room, but we'll set it up with lots and lots of different hidey holes that they can go in quite comfortably, so that they find their spot in the room that they love the most. But it's not just a big open room, because they do get quite scared, especially mummy cats who are trying to nest. I don't know if that's the right term, but they're queening anyway. So they're just getting ready to give birth. Once the kittens are born, we usually keep them in a box, like a cardboard box that the kittens can't jump over, but mummy, you know, is free to breathe. It's just the bottom half. And mummy can get out and in to get her food and her litter. But yeah, then they sort of find their way that way. Definitely keeping them in a room with lots of little spaces is really good. But even when we get older cats, it's good to put them in the tent because they just feel like it's their space. So my advice to any foster care would be have a larger cage or a tent, like an animal tent, not a camping tent, ready to go with all their stuff in it. And then you'll start to feel, okay, if they're coming out for playtime with your cuddles with you, they come out and then they go back in and sleep there. They're also not trained. So, I mean, cats will go to the litter straight away, but what they'll also want to do is mark their territory. So they will really enjoy the bed for more reasons than sleeping. And that's not something you really want. So it's just about training them to be in the household.
And so what are some of the challenges you face as a foster carer?
So it depends on how many you take on. So during the last lockdown, we took in 2 pregnant mums and they had 8 kittens. So we had, and plus our 3, we had 13 in the house. It means a lot of cleaning because you need to keep things clean for them, even though they are clean animals, you know. So time poverty can be an issue. So I work many different jobs. So it's just about managing my day that I make sure I've got those pockets set aside for my foster cats in addition to my own. Resource can be a challenge that some people face also because, you know, especially if you're raising a litter of kittens, that can sometimes cost up to $1,000 a litter depending on how long you've got them for.
When you say resource, what do you mean? Food and litter?
Food, litter, yeah. And then that 1,000 would probably cover their healthcare as well.
Okay.
But then that's, you know, usually the organisations pay their healthcare. They get that back when they adopt them out, but you'll pay for so resources in food, litter, time, energy. I wouldn't suggest doing it if you're, you know, lacking energy because it does take a bit of energy to do. Some challenges we also face is when cats come in very scared, they can be a bit dangerous. They've got long claws, they can scratch you. You have to be careful of them biting you. Another challenge is our cats just want to meet all the cats that we bring into the house and they'll sit at the door pining for these cats because they just want to play. So it's just about managing the mood of the household as well, that we're not hiding anyone from you. We're just, you know, we're just waiting until the time is right. Yeah, and then medication administering, if they're a bit shy, can be challenging. And then sometimes also to get them into a cage to go to the vet. Many tears of laughter have been shed in my house over the different ways we have to try and coax a shy cat into a cage. But it's fun. We have fun doing it.
And have you ever been tempted to keep a cat that you've had in your care, or as they call it, having a foster fail?
So we initially adopted our cat Azzy, who you saw at the beginning, about 4 years ago. And then we wanted a friend for him. So what a lot of people do, which is what we did, is they foster first to see if the cat, because you have to bring the cat in and do the whole separated thing. And then there's a long process of introducing, because if you don't do that step right, you could really have a lot of issues. So it was the first lockdown in 2020, that we thought, well, we're home and we've got time for a kitten, so we'll foster. And the foster program had actually been closed off at the WLPA at the time, but a pregnant mummy cat needed a home, and and Janine, who I work with there, said, oh, would you mind taking in a pregnant mum? And so we took her in knowing that we were very likely to adopt one kitten from her litter. And she had 5 beautiful kittens. We almost adopted her, actually. But we actually ended up keeping 2 kittens. One was the only boy, and he was very shy, and one of the girls was deaf. So she was very confident. Deaf cats are very confident because they don't get scared by the noises. So she was super confident, and he was super shy. So he used to attach to her. She'd do something first, then he'd do it. But because she couldn't hear, she would take her oral cues from him. So, for example, if he can hear the food coming, they would rush over to the food, and then she would look and follow. So we thought it might be nice to keep her and him together because they were a really good pair. So I guess the fail there was that we kept 2 instead of 1. And so we've got our 3. And the only thing that stops me from keeping every single one of them is the fact that I know that the more we keep, the harder it will be for us to continue the work that we're doing. So yeah, so at the moment we've got a little boy who was dumped at the vet at 4 weeks old, and had, he was just on his own, and he would have died of anemia within the next 48 hours had he not have been brought in. And he's got glaucoma, and we got rid of the fleas, and then he got ringworm. So we're just on the tail end of that. But he answers to his name, and he's very much our little cat, so it's going to be really hard seeing him go. But again, we really have to just stay strong. I'm not going to lie, we cry a lot when they go.
But it must be really rewarding to find them a good home at the same time.
It is. And then, we always keep in touch with the families who adopt, and they often send us pictures and say, oh, look at how beautiful they are, or look at them with our dog or with our cat or with our bird, or, and they've brought so much joy. And, that is just the most beautiful gift you can give to someone. So it's so rewarding and that certainly overshadows the selfish feeling of wanting to keep every single one of them.
Yeah, of course. Joy, do you have any questions for Laura?
Yeah. Thanks, Laura. I'm feeling that joy and love of the foster caring. I don't think I could do it. I think I'd have to keep them all. But yeah. So how did you become a foster carer? I was just curious how you got into it in the first place.
Yeah. We just rang the WLPA. So as I was saying, we wanted to foster a kitten, but ended up with a pregnant mummy, and have had many pregnant mummies since. But if anyone wanted to become a foster carer, you call, so there's like WLPA, Animal Welfare League, Mini Kitty Communes, Sydney Street Cats, Urban Cat Alliance, they're everywhere, and that's just a short list. And you just say, hi, I would like to foster a cat, and they'll sometimes you fill in a form, sometimes they ask you some questions. If you're not experienced, it doesn't mean they will say no, but then they just know that you need maybe a little bit of extra support. So, there's so much resource online as well. So you're not alone, basically. So if you were looking to do that, I would just suggest calling up, asking them about their program, because different places do have different expectations. For example, Animal Welfare League need you to have them in a separate room with hard flooring. Okay. WLPA don't so much mind about the hard flooring, but you need to make sure that all your windows are secure, or your balconies are secure, and that you promise to keep them in the animal tent, except for cuddles and playtime. So everyone's got a bit of a different expectation. So I would just say call around and see what expectations suit you the most.
And do you usually do training to become a foster carer, or that's individual organisations would have different requirements?
Yeah, it's very individual. Usually what they'll do, they're so tight on resource. And when I say that, I mean, like, they are up all night, trapping, colony feeding. And then by the morning, if someone who's adopted from them has lost a cat, they're out there finding them with you. And then they get up, and then there's like 6 hours of cleaning, and then and feeding, and then dealing with the public, and it's rinse and repeat. So what they will often do is just for a first-time carer, will give an easy assignment. So an animal that's not sick, an animal that's friendly, usually a kitten. And then you come to understand the whole process. And then, if you're feeling confident, and then those cats or that cat moves on, the next time they might say, okay, well, this one has fleas, so let's go through the process of dealing with a cat with fleas. And next time you might get one with ringworm, and and then it just depends on what you're confident with. But usually they'll just start you off on the easy stuff. So they're not going to stick a 1-week-old baby in front of your face and say start bottle feeding every 2 hours. So yeah, it's more just, I think, gradually, the longer you've done it for, the more that they'll say, okay, well, you're confident with that, let me just come over and show you how to deal with this situation.
Okay, fantastic. So, well, thank you for walking us through the world of foster caring. I assume you'd highly recommend it to anybody listening.
Absolutely.
Excellent. And for those that don't know, Laura does a bit of that cat lady cat sitting for us these days. And do you do other animal related activities? I know you're a woman of many other talents.
Yes, I'm actually studying to become a vet nurse myself. So in doing all of this, I actually, I look at them and I think, I want to know more. I want to know how I can help you more. And it is fascinating, and watching them grow and develop is absolutely beautiful. And I'm actually very addicted. Every time we're between fosters, I have like these withdrawal symptoms, like, oh no, we need a new little baby to help, or a new mummy to help. So apart from the cat sitting that I do with that cat lady, I'm doing that study as well. And then with the organisation, apart from fostering, I also do the Carriage Works market the first Saturday of every month. They're there every Saturday, and help out in getting cats adopted and spreading the word.
Wow.
Oh, fantastic.
That's fantastic. I didn't know that. Oh, well, thanks a lot, Laura. Any organisation who gets you to help them, and, the vet nursing world, they're just so lucky. You've just so much love to give, and you're building up all these skills, and you're doing a wonderful job with the foster cats. So thank you for caring for them and sharing all your knowledge with us today.
My pleasure, and that's very kind. And yes, so if anyone listening, I thoroughly suggest opening your heart to a little homeless creature, because the rewards never stop giving.
Oh, thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.